As you're well aware, we're living in unprecedented times. Join us now for today's special program.
I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life removing pain. Lord, let my words heal a heart that hurts. I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life mending broken people.
Hello and welcome to 3ABN Today. I'm your host Yvonne Shelton, and we have an amazing program for you today. I am so excited about it because you are going to get some life-changing information. Our guest is Dr. Helen Stoddart, and she is the physician owner of the Pain to Wellness Health Care Center in Madison, Alabama, and she is going to talk to us today about diabetes and how to reverse it, how to manage it, reverse it. We're going to get some great information, so pick up a pad, a pen, get ready to take some notes, call family members, friends, anybody you know that is dealing with this condition, because there's going to be some information that you are going to be able to apply to your life. So thank you for joining us, and today we have some amazing music. We have Ginger Pictures accompanied by Tim Parton, and she's going to sing Surely Goodness and Mercy.
Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. The goodness and the mercies of the Lord my God are right behind me every step I trod. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. The Lord is my shepherd, a comfort to my soul. When I lose direction, I trust the one who knows. Through pastures and valleys, restoring my faith, guiding my steps for the glory of his name. My cup runneth over, my strength is renewed. Shout hallelujah, there's nothing he can't do. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. God said it and I heard it. It's settled in my mind. Every day I walk with Jesus, new mercies I find. I follow the leader and his spirit follows me, protecting my soul from what I cannot see. He goes before me and he walks beside me. Great God Almighty, I've got angels all around me. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me eternally, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and evermore. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. The goodness and the mercies of the Lord my God are right behind me every step I trod. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go. Let's tag it. Surely goodness and mercy is gonna follow me everywhere I go.
Woo! Surely goodness and mercy will follow me everywhere I go. That is so true because the Lord is so gracious to us, and his goodness and his mercy follows us everywhere we go. Keep that in your hearts today. Well, we have a wonderful guest, Dr. Helen Stoddart, and she is a personal friend, and I so respect her as a medical practitioner. She has helped me and my family in certain ways, and I'm just very thankful for her. So thank you, Dr. Helen, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here, and you know I'm excited to be talking to you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's mutual, I assure you. You know, first of all, you have had a very interesting personal journey. And when I read your book, and we're going to talk more about your book, but when I read your book, I realized that medicine is not just a profession for you. Medicine is your calling, and you have a personal connection with what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I can tell you that my mom told me when I was a little girl that I saw a little boy who we used the term crippled at the time, but we would call disabled now, who was walking across the street downtown, and he was holding his mom's hand, and I was holding my mom's hand. And I told her, I said, Mom, when I grow up, I want to help people just like that. Aww. And I didn't remember that until I went to medical school. And my mother told me, that's what you said you were going to do. Aww. And, you know, it's just amazing to me how God remembers your dreams longer than you do.
Yeah.
And so I was able to realize that dream and become a physician because I just love helping people.
And it shows. It really shows in the way you deal with people and the way you interact with them. What made you decide to write this book about diabetes? Because we need to talk about diabetes, but what made you decide to write this particular book?
Well, I'm going to say this without crying, yes. But my mom developed type 2 diabetes probably when I was in elementary or grade school. And I remember Dr. Carey, who was her doctor, told her that she has a little sugar. And at the time, nobody really knew what diabetes could do. They just said she had a little sugar. So in her mind, I don't think that it registered to her what that actually means.
Yes.
And it didn't resonate with the rest of my family. I'm one of 8 children, and my mom and dad, and I just remember being a little girl and she reaching for something that I felt she shouldn't eat, but everybody else said, oh, it's just a little, or it's just a little, and you know, I'm like next to the baby, so nobody listens to the baby, you know. When you're talking about that, it's just something that she wanted to eat. But somehow in my childhood mind, I recognized that this was something she should avoid. And it wasn't until much later that I was able to say the reasons why she should avoid it. But unfortunately, it came a little late because my mom, as diabetes does, being a progressive and chronic disease, it progressed and it caused a lot of different problems in her. She developed high blood pressure. She had high cholesterol. She developed congestive heart failure. She started having some compromises in her kidneys. And all of those things were happening while I was in college. Learning about just basics, biology, and then I went to medical school, and in medical school, while I'm learning about the heart, she was having heart conditions. Mm-hmm. And boy, was that like the toughest time for me. I remember my attending professor, I went to him, he was a cardiologist, and I told him, I said, my mom has high blood pressure, she has high cholesterol, and she has congestive heart failure. And I'm just wondering, what is that? Is there something that we can do? And he said, not trying to, it wasn't in a way that he was trying to hurt me or anything like that, but he was very honest and very straightforward with me, and he said, your mother is going to die. And man, whoa,
Oh,
that really got me.
yes.
And it's very interesting that just a little bit after that, I got a call that said my mom had coded. And I will never forget it because I was in California and my mom was in Indiana, and because she was a worrywart, she didn't, you know, I didn't want her to know that I was traveling to California, and I just wanted to go there and come back before she knew anything.
Right.
And while I was there, I actually had a layover in Illinois, and I didn't call her, and that's probably the thing that haunts me the most, is that I didn't call her from Chicago. I just didn't want her to know I was there.
Yes.
And then went to California. I hung out with my girlfriend Lillian. We were at her mom's house, and we just had a good time, gone to the beach and, you know, people watching. Then we came back to her house, and then my friend and my sister gave me a call at her house, and I answered the phone, and what I remember was looking at the phone in disbelief, dropping the phone and screaming to the top of my lungs. And her mom and Lillian rushed to me because they knew with that kind of screech, there had to be something wrong. And I just remember saying, God, why my mother, you know? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
Lillian made all the arrangements for me to go home. And I got on a flight. She didn't even remember all of that. And I told her later how important that was to me, that she made all the reservations. She got me back home, and all I could think about what was going on. And it was the most difficult thing. That was the hardest thing for me to deal with.
With that call, your mother had passed, or she was dying with that call?
Well, on that call, she had died. We had gotten a call in November. That was in July. But the November before that, we had gotten a call that she had coded. And she made it through. It was very interesting because it gave us an opportunity to go home and see her. There were 3 of us in D.C., my sister Lacadia, my sister Anita, and then I was there. And we hopped in the car, and I remember there was a blizzard. You know, Chicago's always got some bad weather in November, so you got to worry about that. And so we got in a car and we traveled back, and it was so quiet in the car because I think all of us were thinking kind of the same thing, and we were praying and just kind of hoping. And we got to the hospital, and it's so interesting. My mother told us that she had a dream that we had come, and when she saw us, we came in the same order as her dream, which was very interesting.
Wow.
And she told us, and this is a very interesting story. My mom was an amazing Christian woman. Like, I want my life to be like hers.
Yes.
And she had said that she felt like God was talking to her. And she remembered saying to him, I want to see your face. And he said, no, Annie, you can't see my face because nobody has ever seen me and lived, and your children are not ready. And when she woke up from her unconsciousness, she told us that dream and that we had walked in the room in the same order that she had dreamt. And I was just so happy that she had made it through. And, you know, I was studying, so I had my books in her room with her because I didn't want to leave her side. And I was just studying because I'm in medical school.
Yeah.
And I'm studying and I'm watching her, and she didn't want to go to sleep because she was afraid to go to sleep. And then I'm like, Mom, but you really need some rest. Please go to sleep. And she didn't want to go to sleep. It was just a really difficult time. But I'm so grateful because God does give you what you need.
Yes.
And he did give us more time. And that more time really made a big difference. I mean, like, I remember being in there. We went back home one more time, for the holidays, and I remember being there with her and taking pictures, and I remember the outfit she had on. I remember the smell of her hands. I remember just her sitting on the sofa telling us she loves me, or telling us that she loves us, and me, you know, all of us expressing. I mean, it was just it was just a time that that was difficult. It was difficult, and I remember getting in the car and going back to DC, and thinking in my mind, this is probably the last time I'll see her, and it was.
That song is, whew. You all know how I cry, right?
I didn't mean that. I'm sorry.
No. But honestly, that's so beautiful because, again, it shows several things. Number one, it shows the legacy that your mother left you. Number two, let's start again. Number one, it shows how merciful God is.
Yes.
By allowing her to have more time with you.
Yes.
Because sometimes we need, in my own case with my mother, I needed more time too, and the Lord gave us a bit more time. And so that's such a blessing. Some people don't have more time, but in this case, the Lord gave you more time, and that's a blessing. Number two, the legacy that your mother left. And number three, the calling on you with medicine. And now it's personal. Now it's something that, you know, you have this passion for because you want to help other people. And because you've gone through this kind of situation yourself. And so, yeah, and I appreciate your transparency because it's important to know. It's important to know. So let's talk about diabetes and what it is. Like, what exactly is type 2 diabetes?
Well, type 2 diabetes is what American Diabetes Association calls a chronic and progressive disease, degenerative disease that is really a problem with the way sugar is metabolized or sugar is broken down in your body. With type 2 diabetes, which 90% of people who have diabetes are typically going to have type 2 diabetes, it tends to cause something called insulin resistance. And if I could get a little technical, not too much, I'm going to try to be real simple, but basically the idea is that the food that you eat will go through your digestive tract and it will be presented to the cells of your body by insulin. So your pancreas has something called beta cells, and those beta cells are going to secrete insulin, and they're going to be like an escort for glucose. So that when your food, if I eat a candy bar, it's broken down, and so all those molecules of sugar will be broken down, and insulin is going to be secreted from the pancreas to kind of help that sugar go inside of the cell, which is the desired source of energy for your body, okay? Your body wants to have the glucose. And so in order for it to get inside the cell, insulin has to escort it in through a couple of different processes on the cell membrane and all of those kinds of things. But the idea is that if it doesn't get inside the cell, then there's going to be excess sugar that's just swimming around in the bloodstream. And you've probably heard that term called hemoglobin A1c, or that laboratory test called hemoglobin A1c. Well, that is called glycosylated hemoglobin. And so what that means is that the red blood cells in your body will have glucose tagged to it. And your body can only handle a certain amount of that. When it gets to be too much, it becomes inflammatory. And it's like something scraping against the walls of your blood vessels. So I always like to talk about it like if you were in a tunnel and you, for some reason, decided to ride on the top of the car in the tunnel, and it's a narrow tunnel, you would be on top of the car scraping up against the tunnel top because of your position there. That's what the glycosylated hemoglobin does to your blood vessels. And so it's scraping the insides of your blood vessels, causing all of this inflammatory reactions inside of the blood vessels, which is what leads to the cardiovascular disease, to increasing your risk of stroke and things of that nature. So this whole thing with it being just a little sugar is not a little sugar. It's actually a very damaging condition that you have. You want to make sure that the foods that you ingest are not those ones that can't be broken down. And if I can tell you a little bit further, I'm going to destroy one myth that people have about type 2 diabetes.
Do it.
Is that it's all about the sugar.
Ah.
It's really not all about the sugar. And that's the interesting thing. The studies now have shown that the issue is that there's something called intramyocellular lipids, which is really a nice long, you know, as doctors, we like to have terms so you can like respect that we're doctors, right? So we use this term called intramyocellular lipids, and what that means is that there's so much fat inside the cell where that glucose is trying to get inside of. There's so much fat inside the cell that it can't.
Right, it's like a glue.
It's like a glue. I love that you said that, because it is like a glue that kind of closes the lock so that you can't get that glucose inside. And in my book, I talk about how it's like going to your party. You're the guest of honor. I'm glucose. I'm the guest of honor, and I'm trying to get into this cell where my party is happening.
Right.
But there's so much fat, so many fat cells inside that cell that I can't get into it. Wow. So I'm trying to get insulin. I'm like, hey, bud, can you help me get inside this cell? And so he comes, he's like the bouncer, right? He's the bouncer. He's coming in, he's trying to get that glucose inside the cell. But then what happens? He's like, wait a minute. Something's wrong with this lock. I can't get in. So he calls his buddies and says, hey, can you bring some more guys? I need you guys, because if we get more of us, we'll be able to get it inside. So he gets a lot of his insulin buddies to come in to try to get that glucose inside the cell. And though he probably gets a little bit in, he can't get much in because it's like standing room only, where it's all of these fat cells inside hogging up all of the room so that he can't get inside.
Oh, that's such a good analogy. I love it.
So you get all this glucose backed up into your bloodstream. And that's really where the major problem is.
You know, it's so interesting to me, Dr. Helen, because people don't really realize how serious diabetes is.
Exactly.
I mean, a little sugar. It's so, I mean, amputations and, you know, kidney failure, renal failure, and all of these
nerve
things
damage.
Yes, all of these things that happen as a result of diabetes.
Exactly.
It is not some minor condition, and it affects so many people.
Absolutely.
In our country.
Oh, about 30 million people
30
have
million.
type 2 diabetes, have diabetes. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's like 10% of the population.
Where do you think it comes from?
Well, I think first there's a false narrative that it's just got something to do with our sugar. When I actually assess a patient, I'm looking at a lot of different things. I want to see if there are toxins that are causing some issues. I'm looking to see what your diet is like. I'm looking to see what your activity level is like. I look at your hormones. I want to see all of those various parts of it so that I can optimize a program for you to reverse type 2 diabetes, because if you didn't know, type 2 diabetes is reversible.
Yeah.
And I love that it's reversible, because, you know, and I love the feeling when somebody says, I don't have diabetes anymore. You know, it's like, here ADA says, I'm going to have this chronic progressive condition, but we now know that it doesn't have to be a chronic progressive condition. And because of that, I just feel like God put me in a place to be able to help people turn this whole thing around.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. And I love the fact that you can still have like wonderful things and just not have diabetes.
That's incredible. Let's talk about how you can reverse it. What do you do to reverse it?
So one of the things that I do is, like I told you, I assess all of those different parts of the person. I'll do some laboratory data, because I like to be able to look at the numbers. I want to see what it looks like. I want you to see what your hemoglobin A1c is. I've had people who've had hemoglobin A1cs out of this world. I mean, 12, 13. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, you want to be less than like 5.6. Wow. And I see it going like into some realms that you just don't want to be in.
Yes.
And a guy from California whose hemoglobin A1c was 13.8, I believe.
Wow.
And so I treated him over, internet is so wonderful now, right?
Yeah.
And so we started talking, and I helped him reverse his type 2 diabetes. So my goal is to change some things that caused you to get where you go. So Hippocrates says something like this. He says, in order to help someone, and I'm paraphrasing, in order to help someone with the disease, you have to first find out if they're willing to stop doing the thing that caused the disease in the first place.
That's good.
Right? And that's really
good.
where it comes. It's like the person has to be able to say, yes, I'm ready to do this.
Absolutely.
Because I can't make you do it.
Absolutely.
Food, people tend to think that in order to enjoy life, and I'm a foodie, I love to eat. and my husband will tell you, we have 2 plates. I always fix his plate when we're like having dinner, and I'll fix plates. And if we're at somebody's house and I'm fixing his plate and my plate, they'll think that his plate is my plate and my plate is his plate, because I'm going to eat most of the food. So it was just, but I'm a foodie. I love to eat. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to introduce foods to people that will help you eat deliciously and still fight diabetes.
That is so important. It's so good to have food that looks good, tastes good, because if it doesn't look appetizing, nobody's going to want to eat it.
Nobody.
And if it's nasty, people definitely don't want to eat it.
For sure they're not going to want to eat it, no.
So we have some pictures of some foods, and if you could just kind of walk us through like what's important about these particular foods. These are just some of many, but let's take a look at it.
Absolutely. So this is sauteed okra with tomatoes and peppers. I really like this one. I like to use seeds. I like to use a lot of fresh herbs, because the fresh herbs, being antifungal, antibacterial, you can actually not only put in, I guess I like to call it building the flavor in the food.
Oh,
so I like to
nice.
build the flavor, because I think God is so amazing that He gives us the plants to eat, but then He gives us seasonings for it too.
Yeah.
So the herbs are seasonings for it. So I'll put in some thyme or sage or oregano or some fresh herb. I have like tons of fresh herbs on my patio. So I like to go out in the yard and just pull some out and put it in the food for some flavor, and it's absolutely delicious. And it's good because okra actually helps to control your blood sugar levels, and I love that. So I just want to be able to add nutrition and add flavor at the same time.
That is so great.
Yes.
I know. I'm going to make sure my son Jason watches this, because he is a foodie.
He's a foodie.
He is such a foodie. I'm a foodie too, so he gets it honestly, but he is such a foodie. And so this is going to really encourage him to move toward a more plant-based diet.
Oh,
And me, because
Yes.
I think it's just so important. And God has given us everything that we need
To stay healthy.
to stay healthy. And the fiber also,
Absolutely.
it's so important to have the fiber.
Absolutely.
Because that, I believe, when I was practicing naturopathic medicine, I would recommend fiber to people who had diabetes.
Absolutely.
Because it slows down the metabolism of glucose.
Exactly.
And so, it's so, God's given us what we need.
Well, see, the foods that God gave us, the fiber, there's already fiber in it.
Exactly.
You see, that's why. So, Genesis 1:29 talks about, I give you every seed bearing and every tree that produces seed for your food. This is going to be your food. And what's so interesting to me is that Genesis 1:29 says that about us. And then Genesis 1:30 says, and even the animals are going to have seeds for food. I mean, can you imagine a lion was eating off plants instead of you?
Yeah. And that's how it'll be when we go to heaven.
Exactly.
You know, going back to the original diet.
Exactly.
Where there's no death. But yeah, the lions won't be, lions will be eating vegetables.
They won't be interested in eating them.
Right.
So I can rub their heads. Hey, lion. You know, my dog, I have a dog, his name is Kato, and he's a chow, he's a white chow, and he looks like a wolf. And so people probably look at us and say, how is she rubbing that wolf's head? but that's what we'll be able to do in heaven, because they won't be concerned about us. They're trying to, they want to get their food from, like we're going to get ours.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the same thing.
That's true, that's true. Let's see another dish.
Oh, now this is a story. So this is a beet, carrot, apple, and ginger drink.
Ooh.
Now this drink is so delicious. Now I got to tell you, one of the things that that plagues diabetics in men is something called erectile dysfunction. And erectile dysfunction is really because of the same thing. The blood vessels, there's so much inflammation inside the blood vessels that there's not enough blood flow to the end organ. Okay, so if you just imagine your aorta, for instance, is a very huge organ. So it takes a long time for you to develop a heart attack, to have a heart attack, because there's so much space in there. But when you get to smaller vessels, like the ones that are responsible for ED, or the ones that are responsible for nourishing your back vertebrae, those vessels are so much smaller that it's easier for them to get clogged up. So when they get clogged up, then you end up with back pain, or you end up with erectile dysfunction. And so this drink has beets in it. And beets, I'm not a fan of beets, I must say, because to me they kind of taste like dirt. But when I put it together with the carrots and the apple and the ginger, you don't taste that at all.
It's delicious.
It is so good. It makes you feel like Popeye.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because you know, a little anecdotal story is that I do talks, and I did a talk, we were on a cruise, and I did a talk about erectile dysfunction. And while we were on the boat talking about that drink, and I was talking about the benefits, that there's nitric oxide in it so that it keeps the blood vessels open, and you know, how it's helpful in these different situations. And can I tell you that we could not find a boat on the Beet after that, a Beet on the boat. After that talk, right? Because you know the men are like, well, really, it'll help that? Oh yes, I'll drink it. So that was really fun. But I love that drink, and I drink it very regularly because I love the way it tastes. And it really does. It just kind of feels like it's going inside and just making your body stronger. So I really love that.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with the nitric oxide.
Yes.
Because that opens up the arteries.
Blood vessels, vasodilation. That's why you want to do Viagra, right? Because it vasodilates.
Yes.
Well, they're trying to mimic what God already made in the beets.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So God already knew what we needed.
Yes.
You know, we just got to reach out and grab it. And it's really almost a matter of just reaching out and grabbing it. If you can grow it in your backyard.
Come on.
Right?
Exactly.
And you don't have to go to the grocery store to get it. You can just grow it. I
Right.
mean, it's really
And
just
it tastes
amazing.
so much better
it's
when you do.
so tasty.
And even if you have, you know, you don't have much space, you can have a patio garden.
Exactly.
You know, so there are things you can do, you know, urban little gardens and
the
things
urban
like
gardens, absolutely. I have things in pots, you know,
Yes.
all in pots. And then my husband made my raised garden, and it was. I wish I had a picture of it so you can see. I was so excited. I was just like, oh, and I put all my little seeds in there, and things were just growing. I mean, it just makes you feel so good when you like do it yourself.
It does.
You know, and how much money you save.
Money and the flavor.
And the flavor.
Oh,
So
you can't
good.
even compare.
You can't.
Homegrown tomatoes, let's say,
You can't.
with the store-bought.
Absolutely.
Just so totally
No comparison.
different. No comparison.
No
I want
comparison.
to ask you about the beets because it's high in sugar, natural sugar.
Yes.
So if you have diabetes, do you have to limit that, or can you have, like, you know, as much, not as much as you want, but do you have to limit the beets?
Well, I'll tell you this. Part of my program to reverse type 2 diabetes is a detoxification process. And so what you're doing is all of the things that are in that drink actually support what's called phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So all of those things, like in the first part of detoxification, in the first phase, all of which occurs in the liver, you can actually produce some really toxic metabolites from that phase.
Right.
And so what I do is I put in foods that will actually neutralize those toxins so that it's eliminated. So because these juices are so are pure, they're just the juice. They go quickly inside the cell and quickly do what they need to do, and they go out. So you might get some elevation in blood sugars, but it comes right back down. It's not something that keeps your blood sugars elevated because there's no fat in it to keep it to let your body hold on to it.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes.
good. That's good. Let's look at another food.
Now, so
come
people
on
think
now.
that they can't have delicious desserts,
Yes.
right? And so this one actually is fresh organic strawberries, fresh organic blueberries. I have fresh mint that I grew in the yard, and that is aguafaba, which is made from the juice of garbanzo beans.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is that? Is that
So
the
that-
whipped cream on the top?
I made it
That's
into
the-
a whipped cream.
And does it taste like it?
You make it taste like whatever you want it to taste like. So I made it taste like whipped cream.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes.
Oh, and you have recipes for all of these.
I do. I'm in the process of writing a book called The Genesis Plan.
Oh.
And that is just a straight cookbook with just recipes in it. And it'll have all of those different recipes in there so that you can enjoy them in the comfort of your own home.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's look at another.
So I always recommend salads, right? You definitely want to have something raw with your meals. And this is actually kind of what primes digestion. And so I want you to start. There was a reason that salads are the first course.
Yeah.
Right? And so you eat the salad because it primes the system for digestion and allows, and that's my citrus salad there, that just allows the food to go through the pipes the way it's supposed to go through.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And let's face it, so many people, especially as you get older, have to deal with constipation.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
these plant-based foods
Yes.
help with that.
Absolutely.
So,
Because they come with fiber.
Okay, fiber.
They come with fiber.
It's a God-given.
It's a God thing.
It is. It is.
It's a
It
God
is.
thing.
Let's see if we have any more.
Oh, shit. So this one's a stir-fried cabbage, and so it has
love it.
It has cabbage in it. It has tomatoes, peppers, fresh pine. All of these are fresh vegetables. Pineapple, fresh basil, some cilantro, and I saute that all together and make it into this kind of. Oh, you see carrots in there too, and it's so easy to make. It's quick, and it's really, really delicious. I mean, there's so much flavor in it because I like, when I first started eating plant-based, which was probably 25 or more years ago, I'd go to a restaurant and just try to get some food, and they would serve you like some iceberg lettuce. That's the least nutritious of all the lettuces.
Exactly.
And then some shredded carrots and a couple little pieces. They would make sure that they got tomatoes in there, but it would be like 2 pieces, like one here and one on that side.
Yeah,
I guess just to balance the salad out.
Just
or
a little
something.
color.
and then they'd give you like some ranch dressing or something on it. And all I could think of is that, I want to eat some food, And so while salads are important, I want some food with my salad.
Right.
And so, so I try to make salads that are buildable salads, that are salads. If I have a dinner party at our home pre-COVID, people would eat the salad because I would make them in such a way that you would want to eat them. They were beautiful and they were colorful. They had all parts of the rainbow in it because I think God does that on purpose. Like He gives us foods in different colors because the different colors do different things.
Exactly.
So like if I'm going to
Exactly.
eat some red and purple foods, it's going to help my circulation, right? If I'm going to eat some white foods like cabbage or something, it helps with my immune system. If I eat some orange foods like the carrots and cantaloupe and things like that, then it's going to be cancer fighting.
Yes.
I just think He's so amazing.
He's so amazing. One tomato has over 10,000
phytonutrients. There you go.
It's the most. God has given us everything we need,
Everything.
and it tastes good.
And it tastes good.
It tastes
good. Absolutely.
So that is
and
so
you know, all they've isolated really is vitamin C and lycopene from the tomato, but there's so many more, like you said, 10,000. There's so much. They don't even know the names of them all. So you can't like just take lycopene, like you just don't take a pill for lycopene. You have to eat the whole tomato, because the whole tomato has all 10,000 of the things that God said, this is what your body needs to thrive and to exist disease-free. Because he didn't, you know, he didn't give us a body to be full of disease. He told us he wants us to be in good health.
Yes.
Right? And that's being in good health is without disease.
Without disease, exactly, exactly. So tell us about this book.
Yes.
You know, what's in this book?
So that is called Reverse It. And, you know, I kind of had a little play on the name. You see, it is after the Reverse It because it's...
Reverse, okay.
So basically, this book is kind of a blueprint to reverse type 2 diabetes. Now, I always recommend, though, that you do this with your doctor.
Yes, I
don't want anybody to just go in and do it, because the food is so powerful that if you're on different medications, your blood pressure may drop too low, or your blood sugars may drop too low. So you really need to have it supervised by a physician.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to say, too, you know, don't embark upon anything until you've talked to your physician, because your physician knows you and your particular situation.
Exactly.
So, but the fact that it can be reversed is so encouraging.
It is.
Because so many people think, oh, I'm just stuck here with this, and I'll never get better. So go ahead, tell us.
And I just want to just say this one thing. If I had known what I know now, when my mother was alive and my father was alive, I would still have them both. So it is so important to make sure that you're putting in the right things. And you know, I always say this, like if I'm driving a Mercedes, I'm not gonna go to the Ford dealer and ask them, how do I fix my car? Right? I'm not going to go to the gas station and get regular tests. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and I'm going to get high test fuel. And I'm going to go to the Mercedes dealer, because the Mercedes dealer knows my car. And he built my car, so he knows what's best for my car.
Come on.
So I have to go to God, who built us and created us, to find out what is it that I'm supposed to put in this temple that I have. And because I know that what he gives me is going to be the stuff that's going to make it thrive, that's going to make it healthy, that's going to allow it to live disease-free.
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely. That's good. That's so good.
Yes.
So that's what you have in here. It's a
step-by-step blueprint to help reverse type 2 diabetes. It talks about detoxification, which actually really jumpstarts you into this whole process of reversing type 2 diabetes. There are some studies that show that diabetes can reverse in 22 weeks, according to Neil Barnard, who is the founder of PCRM, which is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. But I've been able, through detoxification, actually shorten that to about 12 weeks. So it's really powerful to be able to do that.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Now, what about this? This is a workbook?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about this.
So that is the workbook that goes along with reversing type 2 diabetes. And what it does is it allows you to chart your numbers. So you can write down what your hemoglobin A1c is when you started. You can chart what your blood pressure is doing. And you can actually watch and see your blood pressure go down. And then you can even watch, if you cheat, what happens with those parameters when you put the wrong things in your body. And I like to use it as kind of reinforcement, so that you know what your body likes and what it doesn't like. So I love that for it to help reverse type 2 diabetes.
Yes. You've got all kinds of information in here. And what's good is that you can chronicle your progress.
Absolutely.
So even if you make a mistake and and you kind of go back up, your numbers will show.
Your numbers will show.
Get back on track.
That's right.
That's all it is.
You get back on the proverbial horse.
Yes. So these two go together.
Yes.
And we're going to tell you in a few minutes how you can get these books, how you can order them, and also how you can reach Dr. Stoddart, because this is just so important. There's so many people who are suffering.
Absolutely.
And they just don't know what can be done. And they're popping pills, you know, and trying to manage it.
Absolutely.
Without realizing that it can be reversed.
Absolutely.
If you would, Dr. Helen, look into this camera and talk to that person who is suffering with diabetes, and just give them some hope in the Lord, and let them know that their situation can be changed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want you to know, child of God, that God has already made a plan for you. He knew that you would have this situation before it even happened. And he's already gone and made a way of escape. If I were to do sign language, I would say you had a way to escape. And that is through the diet that he's already prepared for you. So type 2 diabetes is absolutely reversible. You don't have to live with a chronic disease. There is a way out, and there is help for you because God's already done it.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you. How does your diet plan affect the entire body? Like, you don't even have to be insulin resistant to go on this diet plan.
No.
Because in fact, you can avoid it. You can avoid
Absolutely.
insulin resistance.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, I got to tell you a little bit. I'm full of stories.
We love stories.
All the years
We
in my
love
life,
them.
I got some stories. But one of the things is that people talk about, I can't help it. My genes tell me that I'm going to have diabetes or high blood pressure or whatever. But I have to say that I have the worst genes in the world. Okay? So my mom had type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, kidney disease. My father had prostate cancer, metastatic prostate cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure. My mother's siblings, there were 12 of them. Most of them died from type 2 diabetes or heart disease or both. One of my aunts had an amputation from type 2 diabetes, and I was worried that she was going to have it on the other side, because 50% of diabetics that have an amputation on one side are likely going to have it on the other side. But she died of heart disease before she got the other amputation. So I totally know what it means to have bad genes. But genes only kind of suggest for you, hey, I'm going to suggest that because of your genes, I think you should have diabetes. But you can suggest to it, no, I'm not going to have diabetes. I'm going to change what I'm doing so that I don't. So I like to say that genes kind of determine your propensity, but your actions pull the trigger.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So from that, and people talk about all different kinds of diets, paleo and, Atkins and, all kinds of stuff. But I have to answer that by saying, again, Mercedes dealer, Ford dealer, where are you going to go to get your answers from? And I just love the fact that because God is a God of promise and a God who knows what we need, has already made this way. He's already told us what to eat and how to eat it. So I don't even go with paleo. I don't say, yes, let's do the paleo diet, because it's not the original diet.
Right.
People think that the paleo diet is like the original thing to do, but it's not. The paleo diet is Cain's diet.
And I wanted to talk to you about paleo and keto and that kind of thing.
So we're talking about what the original diet is versus the sin diet.
Oh.
So before sin came, he gave us the trees and the da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
And then when Cain had to escape and go and be a restless wanderer in the world, he had to become a hunter and gatherer to get his food. And so that's where the paleo came from. It's not the original diet. And so that's when you were when he started eating things that he could just find, along the way. And so he killed his brother, he killed an animal. I mean,
Yes.
so it was not a big deal for him.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big stretch. I've already killed my brother. I can certainly kill this, whatever that thing is, to eat.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So the diets, people talk about paleo and they talk about the keto and all those kinds of things based on their desire to lose weight. And you will lose weight on any macronutrient deficient area.
Okay.
Meaning, if I hold back fat, I will lose weight. If I hold back sugar, I will lose weight. If I hold back protein, which you don't want to do, I will lose weight. But whether that leads to a healthier lifestyle is the question, because
Right.
I can lose weight any way I want, but what is my result?
Right.
At the end,
Right.
right? Because we talked about those cells with all that fat inside the cells. So if I'm putting so much fat in my body, eventually I'm going to top it. I'm going to get to the top of what I will metabolize. Initially, it does rev you up, and then it slows you down. So I don't subscribe to those particular types of food programs.
And that's so important to know, that you take it back to the original diet. You're not talking about and there are people who do these diets for some length of time, but it's hard to sustain that.
Yes,
it's hard
absolutely.
to sustain
Absolutely.
not eating, some of the stuff you really want to eat, like bread. Now they have these keto, because I've done the keto thing, and they have, well, the way it's promoted.
Yes.
If you eat like that, like all that bacon, and
Yeah,
all that,
yeah.
I mean, that's so against what God has said, not to eat the fat
Absolutely.
of animals.
Yes.
So we just
It's
have
a good
to-
point. Very good point.
It's
Very
the
good
fat
point.
in the blood.
Absolutely.
So we know we're not to do that, but you can eat avocados, and you can
Got some good fats.
which is good
Some good
fat.
fats,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So that we know you can do, but this is important because we're looking at God's original plan. And I know that our viewers are going to want to get in touch with you because you have such amazing information. So we're going to get your address, phone number. They're going to find out just how they can reach you. And you do telemedicine as well,
We
don't
do
you?
telemedicine,
So
absolutely.
people can call in and
Yes, indeed.
and what do they like? What happens? They get a
So you can call in to my front office staff and let them know that you're interested in having a consult with me, and I will meet with you via telemedicine. You just have to have computer access,
Great.
and so we can see each other face to face. I would like to make sure that you have a doctor on board. So that we can go through this. And your doctor's going to be happy that you're trying to do something different. 'Cause
Right,
we're
right.
not
And as long as you consult with the doctor.
Yeah, just consult with the doctor too.
Let's go to your address so that people can know how to reach you.
At her Pain to Wellness healthcare clinic, Dr. Helen Powell Stoddart and her staff help men and women find freedom from pain and live in abundant health. For more information, please visit their website at paintowellness.com. That's pain, the number 2, then wellness.com. You may also call them at 256-325-5700 or email them at info@p2w, that's the number 2, info@p2whealth.com. Their address is 235 Portal Lane, Suite B, Madison, Alabama 35758. That's 235 Portal Lane, Suite B, Madison, Alabama 35758.
Thank you so much for being with us today. What a blessing you've been. An amazing blessing. We really appreciate it. And the information that you've given is life-changing, really. I need to tell you this, Dr. Helen has some amazing immune-enhancing supplements too that, again, check with your physician, but if you want some immunity against a lot of what's going on, then these supplements are amazing. So thank you so much. Do you have a closing thought in about a minute or so?
Absolutely. God already knows what we need to stay healthy. And He's just given me the blueprint to help you with it. And I just would love to invite you to understand that there is a way for you, that you don't have to live with this disease forever, because at the end time, we can't be running around having to take our medication. We got to be able to run. So I just want to make sure that you know that you can reverse type 2 diabetes. It's doable. You have to do the right things. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. You have to make sure you're getting the sunshine. You have to make sure your hormones are balanced. You got to make sure you're sleeping. All of those things are really, really important. important. And there's just a blueprint, there's a way to do it. And once you get that and it becomes like second nature, life is just easy.
Yes, yes. Thank you so very much. And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your joining us every single day, because the Lord has really given us a blueprint for life in His Word. So make sure that you're reading that Word, that you're praying daily, that you're seeking God, because God has a plan for your life. He has something special for you to do, and just seek Him and ask Him what? God bless you.